The U.S. begins evacuation of thousands of citizens as the Israeli army gets set to invade Lebanon and Syria simultaneously to eliminate Hezbollah. So there's a big risk of engagement with Assad forces, and the U.S. sends 3,500 more bombs, and more on the way, I'm sure. So the U.S., Germany, Netherlands, Canada, North Macedonia, and Kuwait are asking their nationals to leave Lebanon immediately, while Germany, along with the U.S., Canada, Netherlands, Switzerland, Russia, the U.K., France, Ireland, and Australia have urged their citizens to avoid traveling to Lebanon, following rising tensions between Hezbollah and Israel. Additionally, according to breaking news, U.S. Navy, Marine Corps, and Air Force helicopters and aircraft are expected to evacuate hundreds of American citizens from Lebanon to Cyprus and from there to the United States as Israel is set to launch its operation against Hezbollah. And here's an actual statement from the State Department. We'll just go over here to X/Twitter and look at it. It says here, the U.S. citizens should review the current travel advisory and strongly reconsider traveling to Lebanon. In particular, we call your attention to the country summary, which advises that the Lebanese government cannot guarantee the protection of U.S. citizens against sudden outbreaks of violence and armed conflict. U.S. citizens in Lebanon should not travel to southern Lebanon, the Lebanon-Syria border area, or any refugee settlements. So that's the official statement from the U.S. State Department. And here's another one. Helicopters and aircraft of the U.S. Navy, U.S. Marine Corps, U.S. Air Force, U.S. Department of State are going to evacuate hundreds of American citizens from Lebanon to Cyprus, as I just read to you. An unimpeded flow of arms is now being promised by the Americans with the delivery of 1,700 500-pound Mk-82 bombs destined for Israel, which were seized in May after the Israeli Defense Forces launched an incursion into Rafah in southern Gaza. The second half of the shipment, containing 1,800 Mk-84 2,000-pound bombs, is still under consideration, but they say it will be approved soon. Israeli war gymnasiums. The attack will also include an invasion of Syria. Israeli troops had held drills last week simulating fighting in Lebanon, which the military said were part of the Northern Command's effort to increase readiness amid heightened tensions on the northern border. So the Golani Brigade's 12th Brigade, which operates in the Mount Dove and Mount Hermon areas on the northern border, conducted a combat simulation exercise in complex terrain. So that's according to the Army. Another exercise conducted by the 55th Parachute Reserve Brigade practiced various combat scenarios, including movement over complex terrain and advancing along a mountain route. The drills came amid daily attacks by the Hezbollah terror group in northern Israel and the ongoing war in the Gaza Strip. Israel has warned it will no longer tolerate Hezbollah's presence along its border following the October 7th atrocities, and has warned that if a diplomatic solution is not reached, it will turn to military action to push Hezbollah north. And as we reported the other day, Israel says that they may have to use previously unused and secret weapons, meaning their nuclear arsenal and other things as well, I'm sure. Thermobaric bombs, we know they have that. We watched one of those go off in Lebanon here about, what was it, 4 years ago? 3-4 years ago. So yeah, we know they've got some really powerful secret weapons, and that's what they'll end up using. And then it's, wow, then it's going to be a huge mess. Then it's World War. It's like I've said many times, once people start pushing those buttons and those missiles start going off, nobody's going to want to be left out. Everyone wants to use their nuclear toys. So everyone's going to shoot everything off. It's going to be insane. So there's a strong possibility that any Israeli invasion to oust Hezbollah north of the Litani River would coincide with an Israeli invasion of southern Syria to oust Hezbollah and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard militias. And I'm not going to try and pronounce all their names, but it's the Revolutionary Guard militias, you know, the ones that are associated with Iran. Yesterday's pounding by Israel's Air Force last night, as well as the concentration of forces in the Golan Heights in South Lebanon, support the above scenario. It says here that there's a large chance that any Israeli invasion to oust Hezbollah to the north of the Litani River will coincide with an Israeli invasion in the Syrian south to oust Hezbollah and IRGC militias. Here we go. The Israeli army is sending more convoys loaded with tanks and weapons to the fronts in southern Lebanon and the Golan Heights. See tanks on the transports there. Besides, according to the Financial Times, Israel's aim is to create a security zone inside Lebanon, perhaps up to 15 kilometers deep. We just want Hezbollah pushed back. We have no problem with UN peacekeepers or Lebanese armed forces or Lebanese civilians living there, but we have to be clear that we have to clear the area of Hezbollah's presence. well, good luck, because Hezbollah is ready and they're waiting for you. So here's more attacks from Hezbollah on Israel. If you'd like to watch that video, I'll put the link up as always, guys. Israel's already creating a de facto security zone inside Lebanon by destroying areas within 5 kilometers of the border with their ongoing strikes. Much of this strip, which is hit by the IDF, is used as a launch pad for Hezbollah attacks and is said to have been destroyed. Hezbollah is paying a heavy price for its war of attrition against Israel, says Middle East expert Amatzia Baram, through loss of domestic support in Lebanon, the death of hundreds of fighters, huge economic losses, and 100,000 residents displaced. Well, Israel suffered a lot of losses too. Almost nobody is living in the towns in the north, and many of them are never going to come back either. So now Nasrallah of Hezbollah seems to be locked in a costly conflict, but he cannot end it before the Gaza war ends. Meanwhile, the IDF continues to pound southern Lebanon and prepare for a major war, which will be painful for Israel, but a disaster for Hezbollah, according to Israeli experts. Yeah, Israeli experts. They're the only ones saying that it will be a disaster for Hezbollah. So, Nasrallah's logic is that everything is connected to Gaza, and until there's a ceasefire in Gaza, the rocket launches into Israel will not stop. So, on the one hand, they reject this logic, and on the other, U.S. Secretary of State Lloyd Austin recently stated that a new war between Israel and Lebanon would be disastrous for Israelis and Lebanese citizens, and we call for urgent diplomacy. The U.S.-specific diplomatic line of talking and talking sends mixed messages to the region, resulting in more escalation rather than de-escalation. On the one hand, it's obvious that Israel gets involved in Lebanon, that if Israel gets involved in Lebanon, the U.S. will necessarily support the country. But on the other hand, the Biden administration is possessed by phobic syndromes regarding the direct or indirect involvement of Iran in the theater of operations. And Iran has already said that if it gets too bad for Hezbollah, they will get involved. So these phobic syndromes are so evident that they provoked the ire of John Bolton, the former security advisor of the Trump administration, when he declared that Biden is an embarrassment to the United States, as he urges the Israelis not to retaliate against Iran. So there you go. There's this whole story about what's going on with the buildup on the borders of Lebanon and now Syria as well, as Israel has plans to go into both countries. So we'll see what happens. But everything's sitting on razor's edge right now, as we can see with these security alerts from the State Department and other countries telling their nationals to leave as well. Also, down by Rafah, on the Egyptian border with Israel, there's been a serious and unexpected development at the border. So now, the Egyptian army is also amassing a significant force in Rafah, including about 160 main battle tanks and amphibious vehicles, along with 140 jeeps and anti-tank guns. I saw this morning on Telegram, but I didn't think much of it. But you have to remember, the main body of the Israeli army, as I just showed you, is being redeployed to the north, presumably for invasion operations in southern Lebanon. Now Egypt has moved significant army resources to the Egyptian border at Rafah. So as Israel enters Lebanon, will Egypt enter Rafah? Will they enter further north into Israel itself? Well, it's a good question. For its part, Israel is not revealing it even to the U.S., according to this article. U.S. military contacts with Egypt were politely told the ongoing operation is classified, and no further details were provided, and the U.S. is miffed, picked off. Is this a sort of tap on the shoulder to Israel about the presumed pending Lebanon invasion? Well, I guess we'll see. But nonetheless, it is what they're calling an unexpected development. So we'll keep our eyes on things as always. And that's it for now. Don't forget that don'tspeaknews.com is home base for everything that we do. And I've got tons of stories here that we can't place anywhere else. And we definitely need your help, guys. We got a couple days left for our funding, and we got a ways to go. Well, thank everybody for your prayers and for your support. But if we don't hit it on the 1st or shortly after, we'll be done. The website will go away. And so if you can help us, that's great. If not, I understand. Things are tough all over. So please give us your fervent prayers if you would. And all kinds of stories here, like I said, that we can't speak about anywhere else, including this one about what's inside of the you-know-whats. So all kinds of stories like this, guys, like I said, that we can't talk about anywhere else. If you'd like to subscribe to be updated every time I put up a new story, just click this tab here and then type in your email here, hit subscribe, and you're in. And here are the 2 email addresses where you can reach me if you want to send me some links and some information. The Proton Mail, I check the most. Yahoo, I just started just recently, so I will be checking it though. That's not the issue. Then we have channel support. As you know, we have the fundraiser going, but if you want to just use normal support channels, there it is. And YouTube, BitChute, and Rumble. Everywhere else that we're located, you can find underneath this tab here. YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, and Telegram. And here are all the different places where you can find us. And that is it for now. Wow, guys. Everything's sitting on go. Stay ready. Keep looking up. Our redemption draws nigh. God bless. Take care. Johnny Storm, Don't Speak News.